Officer Samantha Wright stared at the monitor in the cold, dimly lit room of Earth's Deep Space Monitoring Station. The station, built on Pluto's moon Charon, was humanity's farthest outpost in the solar system. Most days were quiet, with little to do except routine system checks and the occasional message from Earth. Today was different. The signal had appeared 3 hours ago. At first, Samantha thought it was just background noise, maybe radiation from a distant star. But then patterns emerged. Mathematical sequences, prime numbers, universal constants. Someone was trying to communicate. "Control, this is Outpost Charon. I'm picking up an artificial signal from the Tau Ceti system," she reported, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "Confirm that, Outpost Charon." "Artificial signal? Are you certain?" The voice of her supervisor, Bill Richards, crackled through the speakers. "Yes, sir, it's structured, deliberate, definitely not natural." Samantha's fingers flew across the keyboard, running the signal through various decoding algorithms. "Sir, I think it's a language." Within an hour, the station's AI translation system began making sense of the message. Within 3, they had the basics. By the end of Samantha's shift, they had the full message, and she felt cold fear grip her spine. The message was from a species called the Navari. They were under attack. They were dying. They needed help. Samantha's report shot through the chain of command like lightning. Within a day, she found herself in a video conference with Admiral John Rivera of the United Earth Defense Force and the Global Council, Earth's unified governing body. "Officer Wright, tell us again exactly what you heard," Admiral Rivera said. His face was grave, etched with lines of worry. Samantha cleared her throat. "The Navari are a species from the Tau Ceti system about 12 light years from Earth. They say they're being conquered by something called the Crax Imperium. Their planet is under occupation. Their people are being worked to death in mines. They've heard about us somehow. They specifically asked for Earth's help." "And how technologically advanced are these Navari?" asked Counselor Grace Miller. Her gray hair pulled into a tight bun. "Based on the signal technology and what they told us about their society, they're maybe 50 years ahead of us in some areas, behind in others. They're not a warlike species. The Crax caught them unprepared. And these Crax? What do we know about them?" This from Counselor Patel, his dark eyes intense. "The Navari say the Crax have conquered multiple star systems. They strip planets of resources and use the native populations as slave labor. When a planet is used up, Samantha swallowed hard. "They eliminate the remaining population and move on." Silence fell over the conference. Earth had only recently united after centuries of war and conflict. They had just begun to explore their own star system in earnest. The idea of hostile alien civilizations had been theoretical until now. "We're not ready for this," Counselor Lee said finally. "We've barely established colonies on Mars and the Jovian moons. Our military isn't prepared for interstellar warfare." "With respect, sir," Admiral Rivera said, "we've been preparing for exactly this scenario for decades. Project Starshield was created for this purpose." The room erupted in argument. Project Starshield was the most expensive and secretive military program in human history. After Earth's unification, many had hoped such weapons would never be needed. "Enough," said President Carlos Reyes. The room fell silent. "Admiral Rivera, if we deploy Starshield, what are our chances?" The Admiral's face was grim. "The fleet is ready, sir. We've been testing the faster-than-light drives and weapon systems for 5 years. They work. As for our chances? Unknown. We've never faced an alien military force before." "And if we do nothing?" asked the President. Samantha spoke up, surprising herself. "Sir, the Navari said the Crax are methodical. They take one system at a time. They extract all resources, then move to the next target. If the pattern holds, and if Earth is in their path, then one day it will be us sending desperate messages into space," the President finished. He looked around the room. "I need a decision. Do we help the Navari?" The debate raged for days. Some argued that Earth should hide, hoping the Crax would never find them. Others suggested sending aid but not military forces. A few believed this was humanity's moment to prove itself as a force for good in the galaxy. In the end, the vote was close, 7-5 in favor of intervention. Within a week, humanity's secret fleet was revealed to the public. 12 massive warships, built in hidden facilities throughout the solar system, each powered by experimental faster-than-light drives. They were christened the Liberation Fleet. Admiral Rivera would command from the flagship, the UES Valiant. Captain Lisa Monroe, one of Earth's most decorated officers, would lead the advance team. The night before the fleet departed, Samantha found herself invited to the launch ceremony. She stood nervously in her dress uniform as Admiral Rivera approached. "Officer." "Right, without you, we might never have heard their call," he said, shaking her hand firmly. "Sir, do you think we're doing the right thing? Going to war for people we've never even met?" The Admiral's face softened slightly. "In our history, we've gone to war for less worthy reasons." The Navari asked for help. What kind of neighbors would we be if we ignored them? As the first ships prepared to depart, President Reyes addressed the world. "Today, humanity takes its place among the stars not just as explorers, but as defenders of the innocent. The Navari begged for our help. We answer not with empty words or half measures, but with the full might of our united world. If the Crax Imperium seeks to rule through fear and oppression, they will now learn what it means to face a species that has known war for its entire existence, and has finally learned to use that terrible knowledge for good." From her place, in the crowd, Samantha watched the massive ships rise silently into the night sky, their hulls gleaming in the moonlight. They begged for help, and humanity had answered, not with diplomats or aid packages, but with warships and soldiers. As the fleet disappeared from view, Samantha wondered if the Crax understood what they had awakened. Throughout human history, making an enemy of us had always been a terminal mistake. The war had begun. The journey to the Tau Ceti system took 3 weeks. Captain Lisa Monroe spent that time studying everything they knew about the Navari and the Crax. It wasn't much. The Navari message had contained basic information about both species, but nothing that would help in a battle. Lisa commanded the UES Valiant, the fastest ship in Earth's fleet. Her mission was simple: arrive first, assess the situation, and report back before the main fleet arrived. She had a crew of 200, all volunteers. They knew the risks. "Coming out of faster-than-light travel in 3, 2, 1, announced the pilot, Officer Ben Harris. The view screen showed a yellow star similar to Earth's sun. Around it orbited 7 planets. The third one, according to the Navari message, was their homeworld. Sensors active, running at minimal power to avoid detection," reported Science Officer Olivia Grant. "Captain, I'm picking up a lot of artificial structures in orbit around the third planet." Lisa leaned forward. "Can you identify them?" "Some appear to be space stations. Others are ships, large ones." "Any signs of battle?" Olivia frowned. "No. Active weapons fire, but—" She paused. "Captain, they're mining the planet. I'm detecting massive excavation operations on the surface. Those stations aren't military bases. They're processing facilities." Lisa felt cold anger rise inside her. "They're stripping the planet, just like the Navari said." She turned to communications specialist Greg Baker. "Any signals from the surface? Anything from the Navari?" Greg adjusted his equipment. "There's a lot of communication between the ships and stations, but it's all encrypted. Nothing I can identify as coming from the Navari." He worked for a few more minutes. "Wait, I'm picking up something faint. It's using the same frequency as the message we received on Earth. Can you respond?" "Yes, but any transmission risks the Crax detecting us." Lisa thought for a moment. "Send a tight beam response. Tell them we're here from Earth and we need to meet." The reply came an hour later. "Coordinates for a meeting on the night side of the planet, away from the main Crax operations." Lisa selected a small team: herself, Greg Baker, Security Chief Nathan Price, and Medical Officer Amy Scott. They took a small shuttle, designed to be stealthy. As they approached the planet's surface, they saw the devastation firsthand. Entire forests had been cleared. Massive pits scarred the land. Rivers ran with pollution. "My God," whispered Amy. This is worse than the worst environmental disasters on Earth. They landed in a remote area of dense forest that had somehow escaped destruction. As they exited the shuttle, weapons ready, 3 figures emerged from the trees. They were the Navari. They stood on 2 legs like humans, but their skin was a pale blue. They had 4 arms and large, expressive eyes. One stepped forward, raising its upper arms in what seemed to be a peaceful gesture. "Earth humans," it said in a voice that sounded musical. "I am Solara. We did not believe you would truly come." Lisa lowered her weapon slightly. "I'm Captain Lisa Monroe of the United Earth Defense Force. We received your message." Solara beckoned them to follow. "We must not stay in the open. The cracks have drones that patrol even these areas." They followed the Navari to a hidden underground shelter. Inside were more Navari, some injured, all looking thin and tired. "This is one of our resistance cells," Solara explained. "Once we were scholars and artists. Now we fight just to survive." Lisa introduced her team and they began sharing information. The Navari explained that the cracks had arrived 5 years ago. At first they offered trade and technology. Then came the military ships and the demands. When the Navari government refused to allow unrestricted mining of their world, the cracks simply took what they wanted. "How many crack ships are in the system?" Lisa asked. 17 large warships and many smaller ones," Solara replied. "They have bases on our moon as well." Greg Baker was setting up a communication device to contact the Valiant when alarms suddenly blared from his equipment. "Captain, we've got incoming. 3 aircraft heading this way, fast." Nathan Price moved to the entrance, weapon ready. "How? Did they find us?" "They must have detected our shuttle," Lisa said. "Everyone prepare to—" The explosion cut her off. The entrance to the shelter collapsed, sending dust and debris everywhere. Through the new opening, Lisa saw armored figures approaching. They were tall, with reptilian features and body armor that made them look even larger. "Crack soldiers," Solara hissed, fear in her voice. The battle was brief and violent. The humans' weapons were effective against the Crack's armor, but the aliens outnumbered them. Greg Baker fell first, a Crack's energy weapon burning through his chest. The Navari fought with surprising courage, but they were clearly not warriors. Lisa called for emergency extraction, and the Valiant responded by sending 2 more shuttles with heavily armed Marines. The Cracks, not expecting such fierce resistance, retreated, but the damage was done. Greg Baker was dead. 3 Navari had been killed. The safe house was destroyed. Back on the Valiant, Lisa sent her report to Admiral Rivera and the main fleet. She didn't just send facts and figures. She sent images of the devastated planet, of the injured Navari, of Greg Baker's body. "The Cracks fired first," she wrote. "They killed one of our own. I've seen what they're doing to the Navari. Their entire civilization is being systematically destroyed. There's no possibility for diplomatic resolution here. These aren't conquerors, they're exterminators working slowly." She ended her report with a formal request: permission to engage all Cracks forces in the system. Back on Earth, the Global Council viewed Lisa's report. Chief Strategic Officer Frank Collins, who had initially opposed military intervention, studied the battle footage and the images of the Navari world. "The Cracks don't just conquer," he told the Council. "They eradicate cultures while exploiting populations. Humanity has seen this before in our own history. We know where this path leads." The Council's response was swift and unanimous. President Reyes himself sent the message: "Captain Monroe, permission granted. The full fleet is inbound. Hold position and prepare for major combat operations. The Cracks have made their choice. Now they will face the consequences." Lisa read the message to her crew, then to the Navari leaders who had taken refuge on her ship. The aliens didn't fully understand at first. "What does this mean?" Solara asked. Lisa's expression was grim, but determined. "It means the Cracks hurt our people and yours. We don't allow that. Earth is coming, all of it, with everything we..." For the first time since meeting the Navari, Lisa saw hope in their large eyes. The war had truly begun. The news of Greg Baker's death spread quickly across Earth. He became a symbol, the first human to die in an interstellar war. His face appeared on news screens worldwide. His family received messages of support from millions of people. What had started as a rescue mission now felt personal to every human. Fleet Admiral Maria Sanchez watched the massive ships of Earth's main battle fleet assemble at the edge of the solar system. She stood on the bridge of the UES Defiance, the largest warship ever built by human hands. Around her, officers worked at their stations, preparing for the jump to Tau Ceti. "Status report," she ordered. "All 11 ships report ready, Admiral," replied her second-in-command, Captain Ryan Johnson. "Weapons systems green, faster than light drives charged." Maria nodded. She had spent 30 years in Earth's naval forces. She had seen combat in the last wars before Earth's unification. But nothing had prepared her for commanding a fleet against an alien empire. "The President is ready to address the fleet," announced the communications officer. President Reyes appeared on the main screen. His face was solemn. "Men and women of the Liberation Fleet," he began, "you carry with you the hopes not only of humanity, but of another species who has turned to us in their darkest hour. We did not seek this conflict. The cracks fired the first shot. They killed one of our own. They enslave and destroy entire civilizations. Today, we show them that was a mistake." As the fleet prepared to depart, Earth's intelligence division made contact with resistance movements across Crack's territory. Director Alan Powell coordinated these efforts from a secure facility beneath Washington, D.C. "We've established communications with 18 different species," he informed the Global Council during an emergency session. "All of them confirm what the Navari told us. The Cracks control over 50 star systems. They have been expanding for at least 2 centuries. Their pattern is always the same: exploitation, enslavement, then extinction." The council members exchanged troubled looks. What had seemed like a limited operation to help one species was revealing itself to be something much larger. "Can we truly fight an empire that spans 50 star systems?" asked Counselor Lee. "We have 12 ships. 12 ships with technology the Cracks haven't seen before," Director Powell replied. "And according to our intelligence, the Cracks are spread thin. They don't expect serious resistance. They've never faced it before." On Earth, factories converted to wartime production. New ships were being built, weapons manufactured. The discovery that humanity wasn't alone in the galaxy, and that the galaxy was hostile, united the planet in ways previously thought impossible. Nations that had been enemies for centuries now worked together, pooling resources and knowledge. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Peter Garcia led a special forces team to the surface of the Navari homeworld. Their mission was to help organize the resistance and gather intelligence on Crack's operations. Peter had never imagined he would be teaching aliens how to fight, but the Navari proved to be quick learners. Their forearms made them naturally skilled with certain weapons. What they lacked was not ability but confidence. "These people have been fighting a hopeless battle for generations," Peter reported back to Captain Monroe on the Valiant. "When we arrived and actually started pushing the Cracks back, many of them couldn't process it. They had no concept that the Cracks could be defeated." The Valiant, following Admiral Rivera's orders, began hit-and-run attacks on smaller Cracks vessels. The Cracks, confused by this new enemy, responded by calling for reinforcements. They had no idea that they were drawing more of their ships into a trap. On the Cracks command ship orbiting the Navari homeworld, High Commander Vexcar received the reports of human attacks with growing anger. "Who are these humans?" he demanded of his intelligence officers. "How dare they interfere in Crack's territory?" "They appear to be from a planet called Earth, High Commander," an officer replied nervously. "A primitive world on the edge of the sector. We had it marked for future resource extraction. Send the battle fleet, crush these humans and their pathetic ships, then find their homeworld and add it to our extraction schedule." The Cracks had made a critical error. They assumed Earth was like all the other worlds they had conquered. Divided, technologically inferior, easy to intimidate. They had no idea what was coming. Colonel Susan White, after studying Crack's battle tactics from the early skirmishes, briefed Admiral Sanchez and the fleet commanders. The cracks rely on overwhelming force against minimal resistance, she explained, pointing to holographic displays of cracks' ship formations. Their entire military doctrine is based on intimidation. They have no concept of what they're about to face. They've never fought an enemy with comparable technology. They've never had to adapt or innovate in battle. Admiral Sanchez absorbed this information. Then we hit them hard and fast. No mercy, no hesitation. As the main human fleet neared the Tau Ceti system, the Cracks battle fleet arrived. 25 large warships against Captain Monroe's single Valiant. The odds seemed impossible, but Monroe had a plan. The Valiant lured the Cracks ships into the system's asteroid belt. There, using the rocks as cover, she executed a series of rapid attacks, striking and disappearing before the Cracks could respond effectively. The human ship's weapons tore through Cracks' shields in a way the aliens had never experienced. "They're confused," Monroe reported to Admiral Sanchez. "Their ships are bunching up, trying to concentrate their fire. They don't know how to fight, an enemy they can't easily hit." Even so, the Valiant suffered damage. Several crew members were injured. The ship couldn't keep up the fight much longer against so many enemies. Just as the situation seemed dire, space itself seemed to tear open. At the edge of the system, the main human fleet had arrived. Admiral Sanchez wasted no time. "All ships, battle formation Delta. Target the Cracks command vessels first. Let's show them what happens when they pick a fight with humanity." The Navari, watching from the surface of their world, saw the night sky light up with explosions. For the first time in generations, they allowed themselves to feel something they had almost forgotten: hope. On Earth, people gathered around screens, watching what limited footage could be transmitted back from the battle. They held their breath, waiting to see if humanity's first interstellar war would end in victory or defeat. The Cracks High Command, faced with an enemy unlike any they had fought before, sent an urgent message to their home empire: send everything. The Battle of Tau Ceti became the largest space engagement in known galactic history. Admiral Sanchez's 12 warships faced off against the 25 Cracks vessels that had been waiting for them. The human ships were outnumbered, but not outmatched. "All ships concentrate fire on their command vessel," ordered Sanchez from the bridge of the Defiance. "Don't let them coordinate their attacks." The Defiance opened fire first, its advanced energy weapons cutting through the Cracks' flagship's shields, like they weren't even there. The Cracks, used to fighting enemies with inferior technology, had never developed the kind of defensive systems that could withstand Earth's weapons. Captain Ryan Johnson commanded the UES Courage, positioned on the left flank of the human formation. His ship took heavy fire from 3 Cracks destroyers, shields at 60%, reported his tactical officer. "We can't take much more of this." "Divert power from non-essential systems," Ryan ordered. "Target their weapons arrays specifically. I want those destroyers crippled, not destroyed." His strategy worked. Within minutes, the Cracks ships lost their ability to fire, though they remained intact. "Sir, why aren't we finishing them off?" asked his second-in-command. Ryan's face was grim. "Because we're not like them. We disable when we can. We kill when we must." Admiral Sanchez had a different approach. Her strategy wasn't just to win this battle, it was to end the Cracks' threat permanently. While the Courage and other ships engaged the Cracks fleet directly, Sanchez sent the Valiant and 3 other fast ships on a special mission. "Captain Monroe, take your group and proceed to these coordinates," she ordered. "Our intelligence from the resistance movements indicates it's the location of the Cracks Regional Command Center. Destroy it." Lisa Monroe felt a chill run down her spine. The Regional Command Center wasn't just a military target. It was the heart of Cracks operations in this part of space. Destroying it would cripple their ability to control their empire. "Understood, Admiral. We're on our way." The 4 human ships broke away from the main battle, activating their faster-than-light drives for a short jump to the coordinates provided by intelligence. They emerged near a massive space station orbiting a small, rocky moon. "That's it," confirmed Science Officer Olivia Grant. "Sensors show it's heavily shielded and armed." "Status of our special payload?" Lisa asked. The Nova device is ready, Captain. The Nova device was humanity's most terrible weapon. Developed in secret after Earth's unification, it had never been used in actual combat. It created a miniature artificial supernova, powerful enough to destroy anything within 500,000 kilometers. As the 4 ships approached the crack station, they encountered heavy resistance. Defensive platforms opened fire. Patrol ships moved to intercept. They know what we're planning, Lisa realized. Push through, we won't get another chance at this. The battle was fierce. The human ships took damage. On the Valiant, a direct hit breached the hull on Deck 3. Emergency doors sealed automatically, but not before 5 crew members were lost to the vacuum of space. Despite this, they pressed forward. The other 3 ships formed a protective screen around the Valiant, taking hits meant for the flagship. We're in range, announced Olivia. We can deploy the Nova device. Lisa hesitated for just a moment. The device would destroy the station, but also kill everyone on it. Thousands of cracks. But then she remembered the devastated Navari homeworld, the millions already enslaved or killed by the cracks, Greg Baker's lifeless body. Deploy the device, she ordered. A small missile-like object launched from the Valiant. It sped toward the station, easily avoiding the defensive fire thanks to its advanced guidance systems. All ships, maximum speed away from the target, Lisa commanded. Brace for shockwave. The human vessels turned and accelerated to their top speeds. Behind them, the Nova device reached the station and activated. For a brief moment, a new star appeared in the sky. The explosion consumed the station entirely. The shockwave raced outward, catching the trailing edge of the retreating human ships, but their shields held. When the light faded, nothing remained of the Crack's command center. Not even debris. The loss of their regional command threw the Crack's forces into disarray. In the main battle, Admiral Sanchez pressed the advantage. The human fleet, though damaged, systematically disabled or destroyed the remaining Crack's warships. On the Defiance, a direct hit had damaged the main bridge. Admiral Sanchez was injured, a piece of shrapnel embedded in her shoulder, but she refused to leave her post. We finish this, she said through gritted teeth as a medic tried to treat her. We finish this now. The battle lasted 18 hours in total. By the end, 20 Crack ships had been destroyed. 5 had been disabled and boarded by human marines. Not a single human ship was lost, though all sustained damage. Captain Johnson's ship, the Courage, had been heavily damaged in the final hours of the battle. Fires raged through several decks. The medical bay was overflowing with injured crew. Captain Engineering reports the reactor containment is failing, his second-in-command reported. They recommend abandoning ship. Ryan shook his head. Not yet. Get me a direct line to engineering. He spoke with his chief engineer, a brilliant woman named Laura Chen, who had helped design the ship's power systems. Laura, tell me honestly. Can you fix it? Yes, sir, she replied without hesitation. But I'll need to manually realign the containment field. That means going into the reactor chamber itself. The radiation will kill me, yes, but it will save the ship and everyone on it. Ryan closed his eyes briefly. There has to be another way. There isn't, sir. Not in the time we have. In the end, he gave the order. Laura Chen entered the reactor chamber in a protective suit that would give her only minutes of safety. She completed the realignment, saving the ship and its crew. By the time they got her out, she had absorbed a fatal dose of radiation. She died 3 hours later in the medical bay, another name added to the list of human sacrifices in this war. As the battle concluded, Admiral Sanchez sent a message to all ships. The immediate threat has been neutralized. But this was just one system, one battle. The Cracks controlled dozens more. Today we won. Tomorrow we take the fight to them. Operation Thunderbolt, as the offensive became known, had begun. For the first time in their long history of conquest, the Cracks faced an enemy that not only fought back but was winning. 6 months passed since the first human ships entered the Tau Ceti system. What began as a response to a single distress call had grown into a full-scale interstellar war. Human forces, now joined by fighters from multiple liberated species, pushed deeper into Crack's territory with each passing week. The strategy that Admiral Sanchez had developed proved devastatingly effective. While the main fleet engaged Crack's forces directly, smaller, faster ships slipped behind enemy lines to sabotage supply lines and free enslaved populations. The Cracks, accustomed to being the aggressors, found themselves unable to adapt to these tactics. On the bridge of the UES Intrepid, Commander Daniel Hayes received word that the Cracks High Council had sent representatives requesting a meeting. "They want to talk?" he asked, disbelief clear in his voice. "After everything they've done?" "Yes, sir," replied his communications officer. "They're requesting a ceasefire and diplomatic discussions." Daniel had joined the fleet shortly after Greg Baker's death. The two had been friends since childhood. For Daniel, this war was personal. "Inform Admiral Sanchez," he ordered. "This is her decision." Admiral Sanchez, now wearing the scars from the Battle of Tau Ceti on her face and shoulder, considered the request carefully. In 6 months of war, humanity had lost 3 ships and nearly 700 personnel. The Cracks had lost over 100 ships and countless troops. "They're not surrendering out of compassion," she told the fleet commanders gathered via holographic conference. "They're surrendering because they're losing. Never forget what they did to the Navari and others." After consulting with Earth's Global Council, Sanchez agreed to the meeting on one condition: it would take place on the Intrepid, not on neutral ground. The Cracks would come to them. When the day arrived, Commander Hayes stood at attention as the Cracks delegation boarded his ship. The aliens were tall, with scaled skin and eyes adapted to see heat signatures. They moved with the confidence of those used to being feared. But today, something was different. Today there was uncertainty in their movements. The Cracks High Commander, Vexcar, spoke first. "We wish to end this conflict," he said, his translator converting his hissing language into English. "There has been enough destruction." Admiral Sanchez, who had transferred to the Intrepid for this meeting, looked at him coldly. "You began this destruction. You enslaved peaceful species. You killed our people." "It is our way," Vexcar replied simply. "It has been our way for millennia. We did not expect resistance of this nature." "Then you fundamentally misunderstood humanity," Sanchez said. "We do not allow bullies to prosper. We do not stand by while the innocent suffer. That is our way." The negotiations lasted 3 days. In the end, the Cracks surrendered unconditionally. They agreed to withdraw from all occupied systems, to release all enslaved populations, and to pay reparations for the damage they had caused. Commander Hayes accepted the formal surrender aboard the Intrepid. "We came because one species asked for help," he told the assembled Cracks leadership. "We stayed because we found 17 others in need. Humanity will not allow systematic oppression to continue wherever we find it." As news of the Cracks' surrender spread across the affected star systems, celebrations erupted. Species that had been under Cracks' control for generations found themselves suddenly free. Representatives from these liberated worlds gathered on the Navari homeworld to discuss their future. After much debate, they formed the Galactic Cooperative, a mutual defense and trade alliance. Humanity was invited to join not as rulers, but as equals, a distinction that surprised many given Earth's overwhelming military superiority. Ambassador. Julia Nash established the first permanent human embassy on the Navari homeworld. The planet still bore the scars of Cracks' occupation, but already the people were rebuilding. With human assistance, they had begun to restore their forests and clean their rivers. In a ceremony broadcast across human and alien worlds alike, the Navari Elder Kithrin presented humanity with their highest honor, the Star of Liberation, a crystal that captured and refracted light in ways that human science couldn't fully explain. "We begged for help," Kithrin said during the ceremony, "expecting perhaps compassion, refuge, or small mercies. Instead, you answered with righteous fury and unwavering resolve. You fought not just for us, but for all who suffered. In doing so, you have rewritten the very meaning of alliance in our galaxy." Julia accepted the honor on behalf of Earth. "We did what we believe any decent civilization would do," she said. We saw injustice and we confronted it. We saw suffering and we acted to end it. That is the promise humanity makes to all peaceful species among the stars. You will never face tyranny alone again. Back on Earth, the veterans of what was now called the Liberation War returned home to a world forever changed by the knowledge that they were not alone in the universe. Memorials were built for those who had fallen, with Greg Baker's name etched first among them. Historian Dr. Eric Mason, documenting the war and its aftermath, noted, "Throughout human history, we have struggled with questions of intervention, when to act, how much force to use, whether to involve ourselves in others' conflicts. In our first interstellar crisis, we answered decisively. When faced with systematic cruelty and oppression, humanity does not send strongly worded messages or token aid. We send our fleets, our soldiers, and our uncompromising determination to end tyranny. In orbit above Earth, construction began on a new generation of ships, not warships this time, but exploration vessels designed to seek out new civilizations, to extend friendship and protection to those who wished it. The cracks, meanwhile, retreated to their home system, their empire shattered, their military decimated. They would rebuild eventually, but the galaxy would never again allow them to terrorize others. The message had been sent not just to them, but to any species that might consider a similar path of conquest. Humanity now stood watch. Lisa Monroe, promoted to Fleet Admiral after the war, visited the memorial to those lost in the conflict. She ran her fingers over Greg Baker's name, remembering the young communications officer who had been the first to die. "We did it, Greg," she whispered. "We answered their call." As she turned to leave, her communication device buzzed. Another distress signal from another star system under threat from a different aggressor. Without hesitation, she headed toward the spaceport. The stars were full of both wonders and dangers. Humanity was ready for both. They had found their place in the galaxy, not as conquerors, not as victims, but as protectors. When the helpless begged for assistance, humanity answered not with half measures or diplomacy alone, but with the full force of a species that had perfected the art of war over thousands of years of its own troubled history. A species that had finally found a worthy purpose for its martial skills in the defense of others.